Hello Flosstube, it's Lori of MischievousStitches. I want to welcome all of you to my channel today. I'm very glad that you stopped by to visit with me. I have a table full of things to share with you today. What I've brought to the table today are my 2024 finishes, whips, fully finished items, basically anything cross-stitch related that I touched last year, with the exception of a couple that were gifts or shop models, are here on the table today, and I want to share them with you. So I spent a good bit of yesterday evening gathering everything together, and some of this morning. I used both my book of days and my Instagram post as a reference. So they're in order, not completely, but everything's here that I could remember. And I used the two, because some things are on Instagram that are not on Book of Days, and so I just used them together to make a list. And so I have page 1 and most of page 2. So let's get started. Put on my glasses. So I ended last year with a total of 28 finishes. Small, big, all 28. I had a total of 18 FFOs. Those would be things I may have finished from previous years, and as well as things that I fully finished that I stitched last year. I also brought over 5 whips from last year. So let's get started. I started the year with this piece, and it was an Etsy kit that I ordered, and it is called Stamp Christmas Santa. And it came with a little easel, and I saw it, excuse me, I was going to show you the easel, but I bought it after seeing my friend Mary had one that her daughter April had stitched for her for, I think it was Mother's Day, and I went out and got one for myself, and it was a really fun stitch. I think the kit came with everything but the threads. I don't believe it came with the threads. I may be wrong. But it did come with a little piece of adhesive felt to put over the back of the stitches. And like I said, the easel. So I consider this a fully finished item. So there's that. And then I got on a kick last year for the Mill Hill. I had a lot of Mill Hill kits, Satsuma kits for the grandbabies, and I stitched a lot of them last year. So here is Santa Jingles by Mill Hill. And you can see I finished it up with a piece of color coordinating felt using double-sided tape. I put on the back, covered that with a piece of felt, and then trimmed it out. And I just used some jute twine and some leftover threads and just cinched, sewed those, the jute there at the bottom. But the jute is sandwiched in between the felt and the perforated paper. So that is an ornament there. And again, that is Santa Jingle. This piece was a start last year that's carried on into this. We've had a few more friends join in, but this is a Sal. And this is the Bristol Squirrel sampler. And we pulled this out of one of the Facebook cross-stitch pages, one of the sampler ones. And this is the Bristol Squirrel sampler. You see how many pages I've got there? Can you see that? I've got a lot to go. But I picked it back up at retreat 2 weeks ago, and I have really been working on it. I have put a lot of stitches in it, gotten a lot done just during retreat and after. So here it is. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen this one last week. Excuse me. This is, let me go down here. I was starting this row when I took that, made that post last week. So I finished, no, this row, I'm sorry, that row. And so I finished all 4 of those. I have one more, so this, as far as this page goes, that's the last one. This 4th circular type motif actually runs into the next page, and then I started one of the motifs for the next row. So my goal, I was to stitch at minimum page 2 last year, and this is page 2, and I haven't completely, so I want to get that done definitely this year. And then when I saw my Sal Partners piece at retreat, she's going to move from left to right, and so she stitched down enough to get to the focal part of this sampler is the squirrel. So she moved over so that she could go ahead and stitch in the squirrel, and I'm planning to do that. So I started working over some for placement. So I'm actually, this is the second page going horizontally. And I think the squirrel starts coming into play here. So I'm gonna kind of stitch down, getting the page here going so I can count down to the squirrel. So that's what I'm doing there. But I've gotten a lot of progress. Just this week, I've put in those 4 letters there and finished Z and moved over. And I think I put in the number 3. So I've gotten a lot of progress on that one. But I brought this over. It was started, I believe it was last year. At least I have it as a work from last year. But this is gonna be repeated on many years' progress to come. But again, I'm just very happy with the progress I've made since retreat. And I'm gonna keep going. Okay, after that, at retreat last year, the same retreat, but in February of last year, I did this Jim's Shore Santa. And it's called Santa with a Cardinal. You can see the cardinal there. And again, I finished it the same as the other Santa I shared. Jute twine, used leftover thread from the kit and cinched it together, sandwiched the Santa, the perforated paper with double-sided tape and felt, and cut it out. Oops, excuse me. And then the next one I did was Heart and Hands Collector's Heart. Now the first one I ever did was the 23, and it was all in a dark red, and I loved it. And then this one last year was really cool as well, and it came with a little wooden butterfly button. And I saw this year's and I wasn't impressed, so I didn't follow through with a purchase and started this year's Heart and Hand. But I love this one. So this is another finish from this past year. I'm gonna put those down in the chair here. And then I went back to another Mill Hill kit. So this is Charmed Santa Face by Mill Hill. The difference between him and the others is there was 2 pieces of perforated paper. So you stitch them both individually, and then you sew. I think you can see a little bit. You can see that I sewed the hat onto the face. And so there's a little bit of cross stitching underneath the cap, and it's his forehead, but I pulled it down to his brow, stitched it, and finished it just as I did the others. And then I worked on Hands On Designs, Flamingo Jingle. And this is a Christmas ornament, and I've gotten everything I need to finish it up. I've cut out the mat board and everything. I just need to finish it. Now, I will say there's another whip that I'm currently working on. I'll share in a little bit that's using this same, it's just Weigert Olive. It's a beautiful, beautiful color green, and it works really well with my other pattern. But when I look at it on this one, you know, it just kind of makes the pattern a little drab, the piece a little drab to me. The other piece that I'm stitching has a lot of white, and it really pops on this darker fabric. With this, it just kind of, it takes away, in my opinion. But I do have a couple of the other flamingo Christmas ornaments from Hands On Design. I plan on stitching those up too. And then, let's see, I've got Cat-O-Lantern. So this is another one of the perforated paper ornaments, but this is a Halloween, and this one is by Satsuma. And I have stitched a lot of these. These are just for me. I have plans for these ornaments when I finally get several of them done. But this is nope, I'm showing you the wrong one. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this one. This is Vampire, is this one's name. This was the one that should have come next, and this is Cat-O-Lantern. They're both by Satsuma, and they come in complete kits when you get them. Everything you need minus the scissors. And there's actually, for some of them, enough leftover threads to stitch too if you have perforated paper on hand at home. But I've stitched both of those and I really love them. And that's not the end of the mill heels, just hold on. Okay, and then I have Valentine Quaker from Primrose. I've stitched a couple of these now. I love their little Quakers. I did change the color on this one. I think it's chocolate covered cherry. It's a cottage garden thread. And there's enough on one skein of cottage garden to do one of these Quakers. And so I bought them for, I think I had winter and Christmas as well to stitch for my stash. And then what's next? Wee Santa. Again, you can see I started the finishing process, got sidetracked. A lot went on in the middle of last year, so I got sidetracked, but this is Wee Santa 2023. Isn't he so cute? Let's see, and then this was a finish that I made. I won one of the door prizes from the Barefoot Needle Arts Retreat last February, and this is a blackbird design. It's called A Pledge of My Affection, and I stitched this up. There was a different year there, and I made it smaller, and I stitched it over one my own way. And I finished it up and put a little bit of wool on my wool heart. Did a small stitch, buttonhole type stitch on around the edge, and added a copper colored charm, yearly charm. And then this was my a finish from last year. I love this piece. I've had it in my stash for a while. And this was Forgive Quickly, I believe. And this is an Old Lizzie Kate design. And I stitched this up with some thread I had on hand. And I think it's so, so nice. I did have an idea after I stitched this one, because the door prize come in the coolest little heart-shaped bowl. It was plastic, but it was a darker shade of red, and I had the thoughts of doing multiple Valentine designs and then filling it with the different pillow finishes one day. What's next? Okay, I did have I think it was fabric that I got in from a designer, and they had packaged it beautifully, and on the outside it was a tiny little wooden blank butterfly. So I took some of the the threads that I had on hand. I think I pulled them out of my art bowl and finished it up, and I was going to use it as a zipper pull on one of my bags. And I don't know which bag, and I couldn't find it, but that was one of my finishes. Very small, but it was one of my finishes for the year. And then this is it's a FFO from a previous year's finish. I finished this years ago. And when I was less confident about my finishing skills, my fully finishing skills, I had cut this out, and I cut it out way too close to the edges. And then when I tried to adjust it, it was pulling the threads, the individual threads from the fabric. And I got so frustrated, but I didn't want to discard it. And because I've developed over the years of doing Flosstube and watching a lot of you that have more talent in that than I do, I was able to finish this last year. And it's more circular. It is a little bit oval, but it's definitely not egg-shaped like it should have been, but it still works, and I'm glad to have a finish. And I'm glad I was able to save this from the mistakes that I had made. But again, it's a shepherd's bush from years ago. And I fully finished it in just a little hanging, some cute little fabric on the back. Then there's Happy Bunny Bunny Day, and this is by the Trilogy. I'm not sure if Trilogy still does designs or not, but I think this is so cute. And I just pulled some buttons from my stash that I had for something else and used those to finish it up. It does call for buttons. I don't know if they originally came with the design or it was something you could purchase along with it. I don't remember that, but it did show on the cover buttons, a cover of the pattern buttons, and so I pulled some from stash. There's that. And this is October by Heart and Hand. Is it Heart and Hand? There is a monthly series that I got turned on to year before last, and I've stitched a few of these. And I'm not ironing this one because I've got room to do one, maybe two more of them. So I just left it on there. I did March in 23 and October in 24. I should have done more, but I got a little frustrated because I misplaced my March, which was a leprechaun face, and I don't know where I put it to finish, and I didn't want to work anymore. I want to do them all together, and I may have to redo the leprechaun, but I'm hoping I'll run across them. But anyway, and it has little specialty stitches, if you can see here, within coming down the edges to help with the quadrants of the pumpkin. And then Spring Quaker, another one by Primrose. And again, a cottage garden thread. And I think I just love this fabric. I'm not sure what color. I think maybe they did call for purple. I don't remember. But I remember really loving this fabric and the color thread that I chose for it. Then there's Tangled Tidings, and this is by Tell Emblem. This is Tangled Tidings Christmas. This was one of my big ones, I think my only really big one last year, and I absolutely love it. Now there is a shop model that I saw of this same designer with a very similar pattern that it was done over one, and it was amazing, and my eyes just are not as strong as they once were, and so I did this one. I believe this is a 36, maybe a 32. I think it's a 36, and I really, really love how this turned out. Framed it myself. Actually, the frame is plastic, but it's going to be out only on the holidays. I'm not concerned as much with it, but it's a beautiful piece, and the colors just are gorgeous. Let me put this down here. Excuse me real quick. Okay. And then, what do I have? Toes in the Sand. I took a class last year at Barefoot Needle Arts with Hands-On Design, Kathy, and this is Toes in the Sand, and it was a finishing class, so our homework was to have the piece stitched completely, and when we came to class, and they brought everything to the class for us to finish it up and gave great instructions. I love this one. This one actually stays in my guest bedroom hanging. I love it. It's perfect. So everything came with the class. The only thing I added was another one of the year charms. Okay, let's move on. Then I had a friend that was doing, her birthday is in May, and she did a Mirror May. And so I picked up an old whip, and the old whip was Festa del Ricamo, and it's a Mirabilia again. I think the hashtag was Mira for Cura. And this is where I got, now this was a start from years ago, so I think when I worked it last year, worked down into her hair, finished up some of the roses. The pattern is hand drawn. It was very difficult. I struggled with it, but I do have an email from one of you Flosstube friends that sent me where someone had taken the time to chart it and was kind enough to share it with some of us. And she had a copy of that and sent it to me so that I could not struggle as much. And so maybe I'll get that one finished. It's not a very big pattern. And again, you can see it's just a beautiful lady daydreaming as she looks out the window. So that was a whip. It's a whip from, I believe it was 18. And it needs to be finished up. So then I did a shop model, which if you're interested to see it, will be in my Instagram feed, but it is Gorgeous by the Artsy Housewife, and it was a teacup with the word gorgeous on it, and there was a raven, the top portion, the torso of the raven out the top of the coffee cup. So, I mean teacup. So it was a neat pattern to stitch. I loved the use of color in the raven. It was beautiful. The raven had just a beautiful face. And then I picked up this at Hobby Lobby. It's just a wooden blank kit, and I still am not sure exactly how I'm going to finish it, but these were great for me last year when we would take weekend trips. And Clint and I take a lot of little weekend getaways, and I love to take these because they're just easier to handle. You don't need the Q-snap. I don't have to worry about, when the car is going over a bumpy road, not being able to see the holes, that kind of thing. And so I grab perforated paper things, or these wooden blanks have become, I've really enjoyed working on wooden blanks past year. And now we get to flip the page, so it's going a little faster than I thought it would. So then I started, my friend Karen visited, and she lives in Arizona, but she comes here once or twice a year, and we try to visit when she's here visiting family. And we started this here together, and I did not get very far. So this is something else I want to work on this year, and it is American Blue by October House. And I'm stitching mine in 937, which is not the called for color. And that's all I got done. But it is a start, and hopefully it's going to be a 2025 finish. And she even brought me a bag. I don't think we intended, we didn't intend to start it. Just so happened she had it in her bag when she came, kitted, and then she had brought me this bag as a gift, and it's all stars, and the blue here, we decided last minute to start it together, but that's a whip from last year. And then this one's going to be splattered in because it's an existing whip prior to 24. It was a stitch along with me from Barefoot Needle Arts, and this is October 31st. And I stitched on this a little last year too. I stitched a few of the cottage garden samplings. Actually one for my grandson Waylon as well. This one was, you see how it's not really what I would consider it more confetti than I like. Because you can see here, you're doing this all the way down his breast. And I find it difficult to read the pattern like that, but it's the called for threads, the called for fabric. I just am not enjoying stitching the bird itself. But it's another one, it's what, about a quarter finished. It's something I can finish this year, but I did touch it last year. So I'm counting that as one of the ones I carried over because it's carried over. And then this is a Barefoot Needle Arts bag. What else do I have? This is Our Flock by Barefoot Needle Arts. It was just a recurring theme last year when I would go to visit the shop because I had lots of events I attended there last year. 24 hours of cross stitch, the Kathy from hands-on design class, a couple of retreats. I just had a lot of fun with Barefoot Needle Arts last year, and this was, flamingos were a recurring theme, and this is their pattern, and I stitched that up. Enjoyed it. And then this is another Etsy purchase, a kit, and this is a thread keep. This was a very interesting finish. So like every wooden blank, the kit come with everything, and I stitched all the flowers up, and then it come with a different thread for the edges. So you had 2 different wooden blanks. You have the backing, and you have the front that you stitch on. This thread is only used, and it's like it's waxy. It's I don't even know what you would call the thread. It's definitely not jute, but it's like a small version of like a jute. And so I wove that in and out of the holes that were in it. And then to close it up, to secure it, I think I pulled these threads through a stitch that had already been stitched, snipped it off really close, but I had put glue, just a tiny dot of glue on the thread and where it came out to hold it snug, and it's very snug. There's no movement when I try to press them together, but I absolutely love this. I think it's gorgeous, and they have different shapes, ovals, circles, just a beautiful, beautiful piece. And then this was a freebie pattern from Belinda of Blue Ribbon Design. And I've stitched a few of her little pieces too. And I finished it up with some pins, circular, just a coordinating fabric on the back. And it's just a little display item, a little basket or bowl stuffer. And I just think it's the cutest thing. Love it. I bought a circular cutter last year, and it's a small one that you can use for more light grade paper or maybe some chipboard. And I was able to cut that out myself, which made me happy. And that's the one, when I realized I had something that I was able to cut those circles out in different sizes. That was one of the first, that's the first thing that I finished using that tool, and the boards that of chipboard I was able to cut out to use it with. And then Cardinal Forest, another Mill Hill kit. Isn't that cute? I really enjoyed this as well. And I purchased these. You can see that it's hand painted. So I purchased these wooden frames from Amazon, and they come in like a box of 5 or 6 because I have a few more Mill Hill kits like this. I stitched this up, painted the frame in a coordinating color. I didn't wax this one. Yes, I did. I did wax that one. Sanded it, waxed it very lightly. Looks like I only have maybe one coat. And it didn't have glass in it. It has a plexiglass, a very thin plexiglass in it. You can see it behind, but I left that in there so that there would be something, that the paper, perforated paper, would be more secure in the frame, but using everything that they, had on it, the hardware to close it. It come with a button as well, one of the ceramic buttons. Very, very cute. And so it has a prop, and I'm able to prop that one up. And then I have my current process. So, let me get that right. Current project. It's a project. I started this one in January of last year with my friend Mary, and she loves Christmas, and we decided to do a Christmas design. I think Mary suggested this one, and it is beautiful. I did choose this. That's the one I was telling you. Let me go back to it. The flamingo all the way, the fabric for this one, the olive. Look at the difference in the way the same fabric pops. This one seems dull, and this one's so bright and happy. Just color usage. So the piece for this one, of course, come off of this. Hold on, I don't want this to get wrinkled. Let me flatten it back out really quick. Okay. So again, this is Shannon Christine, Christmas Manor. And I'm stitching it on a 32 count, I believe, of olive colored Swigert fabric. And this is where I am. So this is one of the pieces I'm carrying forward and currently working on. And so just this weekend, I finished the roof, finished this, I'm gonna call it a wreath, but it's not a wreath, but similar. So I finished that up and I've worked down the side here, down the side here this week. I think last week I finished up this whole corner, this motif, as well as the tree and the key. All of this up here was finished last week, this week, as I said. And so as soon as this video is over, while it's uploading and I'm eating lunch, I'm gonna finish. This is my goal today, is to finish the house, the door, the other windows. I can do it. I can do it, and I'm loving it. Because Mary and I are starting, and April and Natasha are starting a new project March 1st, so I gotta get to work. I don't want to have too many in my little rotation. Okay, what else do I have? Sea Turtle. It's another Mill Hill kit. This was gifted to me years ago by a friend because she knows my love of sea turtles. And so I picked this one up while I was stitching all those Mill Hill, finished it up. I don't have a hanger or anything on it. I thought maybe at some point I may put a magnet, excuse me, and use it on my magnetic board for my patterns, but I love it. And in his little charm is a tiny little, if you look close enough, you can see, it's a tiny little turtle too. Okay, and Vineyard Fair. This is by October House. I saw the one with the market releases. She has a pair this year that she's releasing. So I think she has the Bee Keep. I've stitched that one. There's grape, strawberry. So the bee one's the only one I haven't stitched. And then her new release for this year. So I finished this one myself, just some fabric I had on hand and some chenille trim. It was my first time, I think, really. I just stuffed it within an inch of its life. I mean, it's just super stuffed. I tried ironing it down like I've seen before, but you can see by some of the puckers, I just overstuffed. But you learn. You do and you learn. Okay, and this is a piece I was able to visit or attend North Meets South last year. And I picked this up from Silver Creek Samplings. And this is, it says Liberty, but it's called My Tea. So My, MIGH-T, Fabulous. And it's actually a tea bag. So in the instructions for finishing this, it was so cool that she said just use your leftover, because it was a kit, and you use your leftover threads to stuff it, so it's not like pillow stuffed. It's to be finished and feel like a tea bag, which was a really cool. So I think about that every time I pick it up. But I've had it on a pair of scissors with flamingos from last year that was gifted to me by a friend, and I had to pull that out of a project to show it. This is Quirky Turkey. I picked this up and sewed it during the 24 hours of cross stitch at Barefoot Needle Arts in, was it October? And this is Quirky Turkey. So I just picked up one of their extra small like ornament cut pieces from the shop. And I think this one is stitched with our choice of colors, which was sulky threads. And I had some walnut buttons that I had picked up at a local, a summer fair. I think it was at the Peach Festival, and finished it up on a piece of wool. And I remember asking all of you I had a few colors of wool, and you guys said you liked this one with the plaid vest, and stitched him up as a pillow. Isn't it cute? Okay, what else? And then this is a new start for last year. I started it in, I think, November. It came out in October. It's a Barbara Anna design. And this is Horrorville. And I took it to a retreat, but the lighting was not what I needed to stitch on 36 count with these colors, and so I struggled. So I've only worked on it twice. I worked on it a little bit after I got home, but I started it the first part of November while I was at retreat. Love that little moon, a little cottage cheese moon. Cheddar cheese. Cottage cheese is white. Okay, what else do I have? Vampire, I showed you. That was the Satsuma. And then this is Faith. This is designed by Amy from Barefoot Needle Arts for Memory, Memory actually rang the bell. Her treatments were over as of Thursday of this week. I saw the Facebook post. Congratulations. And I stitched this. So Amy designed it for Memory. And I stitched this one in Cottage Garden thread. No, Sulky threads. This one's stitched in Sulky. This one is stitched in Sulky threads. And I did a stitch along on this one with my friend Teresa. Hey, Teresa. What else? Pumpkin King Nutcracker. I had him laying right here to fully finish him, but I wanted to wait until I finished my granddaughter's Christmas ornament, which I think I shared in my last video. So I have two granddaughters now. One of the ornaments is stitched, the other one is in progress, and I wanted to spend maybe an afternoon putting these together. But this piece, I downloaded it from Etsy and this off of Satsuma's site, and this is Pumpkin King Nutcracker. And I have him on his felt, so maybe he'll stick. Reminds me of those, I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, so I remember going to Sunday school and they would have these boards with felt people. Do y'all remember those? And they would tell you the story, and they could put up Mary or Joseph or the lambs, and they were felt, so they stuck like this. And pull them off and move them and use them next week. But anyway, so you can see, like I talked about with one of the Mill Hill Santas, you take individual stitch pieces, you cut them out, and then you add them. So I think his scepter is to be in his hand right here that you see is not finished. And of course his crown is to be on his head. So I just need to put him together. I've already backed him with the double-sided tape. I've just not pulled that side of the tape off. And I just need to finish him up. And that leaves me with Horrorville is in there. And Santa Cruiser, and this is the ornament for 2024 for my grandson Waylon. Grammy is behind. I didn't have it finished this year. But isn't that just the cutest thing? I love the Satsuma Street ornaments. They are so cute. So that is it. That is it for my 2024 finishes, FFOs, whips. And I hope to be just even more productive this year since my focus is back, because I think I bust out of the gate last year and was stitching a lot. And then because I'm stitching and I'm with Stitch Friends, we were doing a lot of extra stitch related things. And so my focus wasn't on the stitching, it was on the things. You know what I mean? So we were busy on trips and doing things together. So this year, I'm hoping to get back to the stitching of things. I've got a lot of beautiful, shiny things I want to stitch and things that are kitted, and I just want to get to it. So this coming week, this is going to be my focus. And I hope when you see it again, there's going to be a lot more for me to show. I'm hoping for almost a finish, if not a finish. I was thinking too, I've seen a lot of you, and I'm a little behind because here it is, almost March. A lot of you did whip parades in January. And I think this is going to be the year that I really need to take a hard look at my starts and sit down and put a number to them. Maybe I'll have someone else actually count them after I write them down and keep it in an envelope. I'm still not sure I want to see that number. But anyway, thank you all so much for last weekend. You guys really welcomed me back with open arms, left me some wonderful comments. You guys are so encouraging. You all said that you could see the excitement in see it in my face, hear it in my voice. And I was very excited last weekend to have something to share again. I'm just equally excited this weekend. It's something special to pull all this stuff together and think, even as what I just said previous to this, I felt like I wasn't as productive as I normally am, but I did get a lot finished. So even when, now I know, even when I think I'm not stitching, I'm still accomplishing something if I'm putting my needle to fabric or needle to perforated paper or wooden blanks. I'm getting something, even if it's only a few stitches. So until next week, where I hope to share with you maybe some whips, probably not all, because that will probably be a really long video. Until next week, hugs and stitches, everyone. Bye-bye.